This episode is brought to you by Commerce, parent company of BigCommerce, Feedonomics, and MakeSwift.
We've always put the focus on the customer, and we've completely and proprietarily built our tech stack. And while doing that, we always went back to the whiteboard and said, does this make the transaction better for the customer? Does this increase that positivity? Are we doing what we set out to do and, embed ourselves in communities and be that local trading spot and electronics hub? So we never lost focus of that, and now it's starting to pay dividends.
Welcome to Retail Remix. We all live and die by our electronics, but as we all also know, those devices are fragile and expensive. When the screen cracks or the battery starts to fade, it can be easier to just toss it out, but that's costly both financially and environmentally. My guest today set out to create a better, more sustainable way to circulate these crucial tools of the modern world with their franchise, PayMore, which buys, sells, and trades used electronics. Stephen Proust and Eric Helgason launched the business in 2012, and today they're going to share how they've been able to grow while other retailers shrink their footprint, and why a franchise model is crucial to the community-focused philosophy of the company. Welcome, everyone, to Retail Remix. I'm your host, Nicole Silberstein, Editor-in-Chief of Retail Touchpoints, and my guests today are the founders of the used electronics chain PayMore, CEO Stephen Proust and President Eric Helgason. Thanks both for being here today.
We look forward to chatting. Very happy to be here.
Great. So, PayMore is still relatively new on the retail scene. I thought we could start by just hearing a little bit about the concept and how you both came up with it.
Sure. Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about the history. Stephen here. So Eric and I actually have been at this for over 2 decades. So 21 years ago in 2004, we got together, opened up a secondhand store. Wasn't PayMore at that point in time. We were taking any secondhand products in, no matter what it was, anything we can take in and flip for a profit. And we ran that business for several years. I like to say we made just about every mistake. We did a lot more wrong than we did right, but we learned a lot. And it was a critical point for us to really learn what we wanted to focus on. Electronics at that point in time, and towards the end of that first run, it was about 2008-9. All electronics were really switching from just a need to a necessity, and we were seeing that real time. We were bringing in more electronics than anything else, and we were making more money off the electronics than really all of our other product combined. And we were having great conversations with our customers that they really were embracing a place that they have optionality in secondhand electronics. So we saw a real green shoot for us to drill down and specialize on electronics. The other part of the puzzle was the secondhand world in general, a very stigmatized world. When I say secondhand, most people think of a pawn shop. And we wanted to really, in a grandiose way, really blow up that industry, disrupt it, and bring it to an elevated customer experience where it was more acceptable to the masses. So we took the specialization in electronics, and we took the grand idea of really changing how the secondhand world works. And in 2011, we rebranded as PayMore, and it's been now 15 and a half years running the PayMore stores. I guess just to put a button on that, we ran our first store from 2010 to 2020, buying, selling, and trading electronics. We added responsibly recycling products as well, and then also the data safety, wiping all the data off the products. And we were doing so well. We had a great market share for what we were doing in Long Island, New York, that we decided to expand. We chose the franchising route. And in 2020, we started franchising from that one store in Massapequa, Long Island. And in the last 5 years, we went from that one store to 100. We're opening up our 100th store actually in a couple weeks.
Wow, congratulations. I knew you guys were growing fast. I didn't realize we were hitting that 100 milestone so soon. I have to admit, though, that the name, when I first started hearing about your company, was a little confusing to me. So tell me a little bit more about how you landed on the PayMore branding. It makes sense to me now that I know more about the company, but how did you land on that branding, and what are you hoping to convey to consumers, especially new people discovering your company?
Yeah, so the naming came from our customers. We weren't named that in the beginning. As Stephen mentioned, we were running a different business, and everyone that we did allow the trade-ins to come in would say, hey, you guys you really just pay more than this this big box store, you pay more than this website, and it just stuck. And you know what? At that point, we embraced it. And we said, this is a little radical, but let's go with it. Let's create a name and a brand that's going to convey that we are the number one and the leaders in tech buyback. And we want to be able to make sure that we're giving our customers a fair value. So we're going to coin that, and we're going to earn our name, and we're going to continue to earn our name with our customers.
Nothing else, it sparks a conversation. And once they understand what we do and we have that conversation with them, it hits home.
Right, right. So now you're about to hit your 100th store. You also have a lot more in the works though, right? So tell me a little bit about the future growth plans you have.
Yes, that's correct. We have our 100th store upcoming in the next few weeks. We were an East Coast brand to start with. So our first 20 stores were up and down the East Coast. And then we've grown through our franchise multi-unit system to really the central part of the U.S. Now we're really growing heavily in the West Coast. We've also expanded internationally as well, which is pretty interesting. We now have 7 stores open in Canada. We brought on a great partner there to operate and expand the business there. And they're about 7 stores in. They're going to open up 120 in Canada. They're on pace to open up another 15 this year. We've also expanded into Europe. So we've opened our first store right outside of London, and we have several more coming in London, Scotland, and Ireland. And we're announcing a couple other partnerships pretty soon in other parts of the world. So in total, we will have about 150 stores open by the end of 2025. And we have now just about 600 stores that have signed on to open over the next few years. So we're looking out probably the next 5 years having several hundred stores, not only in North America, but globally.
Man, I mean, that is just such a rapid growth rate. I imagine it's aided by the franchising model, but it still is just kind of incredible at this moment in time to see a new company growing at this pace while we're also watching a lot of legacy retailers really struggle, close stores. What's the secret? And maybe it is just franchising, or maybe there's more to it, but how are you able to expand right now while other retailers are kind of struggling?
I think the answer here is that we've always put the focus on the customer. And over the years, and we've completely and proprietarily built our tech stack. And while doing that, we always went back to the whiteboard and said, does this make the transaction better for the customer? Does this increase that positivity? Are we doing what we set out to do and, embed ourselves in communities and be that local trading spot and electronics hub? So we never lost focus of that. And now it's starting to pay dividends. So as we continue to open in these communities, we quickly become the number one highest grossing secondhand dealers, which is more like a different classification than a pawn shop, but a secondhand store. So when we come into these communities, we have great technology, we have great spaces, well-lit locations, great staff, and very safe trade-in procedures that allow people to walk in, quickly trade in their tech safely, easily, no appointments, no shipping, and walk out feeling good about their data security and the cash in their pocket. Outside of that, we're giving these devices a new life. So it's not just about trading something in, it's about keeping this device out of a landfill, but also reducing the carbon emissions it would take to create a new device and manufacture one. So as we continue to evolve, the secondhand stigma is resolving, and we're doing our job by focusing on these things and doing that, but we're also making a huge impact in the communities and the planet as a whole.
Yeah.
Eric sometimes is a little humble on the technology side, but he's built a system here. And it took us 15 years to do it. So even though we've had this great expansion and ascent over the last 4 or 5 years, there was 15 years previous to that we really put a lot of our energy, time, and resources and most of our capital into the technology. And Eric was a big proponent of that from day one, that, you have to solve really for the archaic or the traditional retail and really lean into the way that retail is going to be going forward. We have a fully proprietary, customized technology operating system that we've built over 15 years that we own and operate. We don't third party anything. Eric was the one coding it back in the day, all himself, and that's his background. I'm more of the business side of things. But now, fast forward to today, we have over 100 developers now on a daily basis pumping initiatives into our tech stack. So we like to say that, yes, we are traditional in the fact that we have brick and mortar locations, but we are really driven, and at our core, we are the modern evolution of retail, which is driven by our technology, data, and e-commerce.
That technology, so it's your POS system, but what else? I imagine because of the trade-in aspect, there's a whole other component included in that technology.
I don't think we have enough time on this call to go through it all, but it runs our whole business for us. It's built off data. It's built off crowdsourcing. Our staff, our managers, they know what to pay for things to keep it fair for customers, what to sell things for, all the way down to the attributes, the battery power, the demand, and all the way through onto our shop.paymore.com, which is our web store, which you can find thousands of discounted electronics for sale. All of these things are synced in real time. So we're always making sure that the customer is getting the best deal on a trade-in, but also on when they do purchase something from us. So it fully encompasses all of this, plus some other back-end marketplaces.
Wow. No wonder that took 15 years to make and still going, right?
Right.
Now, Stephen, before you got into this world of secondhand, you have a deep background in commercial real estate and capital markets, which I imagine is now coming in handy as you are expanding so rapidly across the U.S., looking at new locations. So how are you drawing on that experience as you're building your footprint, not just apparently in the U.S., but globally?
Yeah, I think that is really what is also part of our secret sauce. Eric and I are great partners. We're very well balanced with his tech savant, forward thinking on the e-commerce side, and then also operations over our stores. I handle a lot of the business activity, and that is, yes, aided by a lot of my experience in the capital markets. I have been and had been a part of nearly 1,000 executed transactions in the New York City marketplace, which is very complex to work through. And I've negotiated several thousand agreements with some of the most savviest and shrewd capital markets owners and business owners in the greater metropolitan area of New York. So that has helped us really work through our agreements pretty quickly, pretty fairly. Really nothing surprises us. We were able to bring in some great third parties. And that background has certainly helped us, just as Eric on the tech side. My structuring and agreement knowledge has been able to help us put together those 600 deals in stores over the last few years.
Yeah. I mean, the world has changed quite dramatically since you all had your very first store. You talked about the stigma of secondhand. That has really shifted over the last 2 decades, and in particular, the last, I would say, like 5, maybe 10 years. And resale, in fact, is very popular right now across many different categories. Most of the new companies entering this space, though, are focusing on online. So why have you gone the brick and mortar route with your resale offering?
I think we can start with why maybe new entrants are going in the online route, because it's easy. It's
right.
Easy to put a web page up. It's easy to be somewhere and get some things mailed in, but it's tougher to build in communities and make relationships with those communities. We chose to go this route because we do see in the future that trust is huge in the trade-in market. And our branding and our local community involvement, our local owners, our franchise owners, they're all part of the community, the staff's part of the community. We wanted to make a difference inside the community. So our stores are major socioeconomic drivers in those communities. We are putting the cash back into the community for them to spend. We're hiring in these communities. We care about the communities, and our recycling initiative is focused on cleaning the communities out of e-waste. So going this route and being able to be accessible is different, because not everyone has a smartphone or a computer to generate a mail-in label to send the devices in. We want to be in the communities. We want to be talking with the customers, and we want to be ensuring their data privacy right on the spot.
And I think that was an important step that we made in the beginning. Obviously, we were in retail first, but we wanted to stay with retail because that's the harder way to do it, right? So there's a lot of options for people to mail it in, but there's really only one option for a national franchise or an elevated service that has that many boots on the ground that you can go make a relationship with, get a transaction done that day, walk out that day in cash, have their items wiped and their data privacy taken off whatever item they're bringing in front of them. And if those things don't work for them, or if there's not a monetary value, we can recycle for them responsibly. So we have set ourselves apart in that manner. We are one of one. At the end of the day, to Eric's point, to do a mail-in site or to position ATMs out there, that's the easier part. The harder part is to go and get boots on the ground, put brick and mortar locations out there. Outside of that, then we are very executable in the e-commerce fashion.
Yeah. Well, and it's also expensive to run stores too, which is also what stops many people at the outset. I mean, and it's interesting because as you're talking, I'm thinking about how personal these devices are to us, and the feeling, it's just different to have to mail your phone, even if it's a phone you don't want anymore, like put it in an envelope and ship it off to some black box entity you don't know where. If you don't feel that way when you do that with a pair of jeans or a shirt. So that trust factor does really kind of resonate. There is, though, I mean, while you may not have like brick and mortar competition, you do have competition online in the form of eBay, back market, as well as, other pawn shops, manufacturer trade-in programs. So how are you drawing clients away from some of these more established electronics resale channels and bringing them into the PayMore fold?
I think one of the biggest reasons is the way that we run our business. The people that we've brought on incredible franchisees. Those franchisees are hiring people just to have the same value as what we're looking for. But also, again, I think we answered it before, embedding ourselves within the communities. These different e-commerce sites is great to buy something on there, but when it comes down to actually getting something that you want to take home and make sure that it's wiped, it's clean, it's good to go, you can return it that day. If you're buying a phone online, and yes, we do a lot of e-commerce, but if you're buying a phone online and it doesn't work out for you, you're out of a phone for 5 to 7 days. So we're there to help you kind of get that back in your pocket. Outside of that, manufacturer trade-ins, they pay gift cards. We're not about gift cards. We're not about checks. We issue cash because we are allowing the consumer at this point optionality. We're giving them optionality, rather. They can come in, they can spend that cash any way they want. They can pay their rent with it. They can go out with it. It doesn't matter what it is. If you're trading something in to a carrier, you're going to end up in another 2-year contract with a monthly payment, and you're stuck in that kind of system again.
Yeah.
So our main focus is to be in the community, build a relationship, protect the customers, and give them the optionality of cash to spend the way that they want.
Yeah, it's empowering the customer when they come in through the elevated experience in retail, nice stores, minimalistic. Think of like a pre-owned Apple store, if you will. That people are comfortable going into a safe environment, getting their cash, getting in and out quickly. I think that's also an important part of it, is that we get them in and out within 6 or 7 minutes with our technology. This is really like a stock ticker system where we've created for electronics, where we know exactly what we can pay them for that item at that minute, at that day. And we get them in and out quickly. The average secondhand, if you're talking about, another secondhand, in-person experience, the average transaction rate is 50 minutes. So you're talking about something that's, almost 10x. And then also the repeat customer rate. We want to give everyone a fair deal when they walk in. It's not walking into a pawn shop where someone may not know about the electronics that you're doing or has a different business model. We have a repeat customer rate that 10x's a typical secondhand store as well, where the repeat customer rate on a typical secondhand store, whether it be a pawn shop or something else, is under 10%. We're trending at 80%. So we've really solved all of their electronics needs, solving all of their issues, but also making it a pleasant and a fair experience.
Yeah. And that flexibility isn't something that I had really considered as much before. But not only can you use the money for a different device than what you had before, a different brand, anything, but you can also just take the money and use it for something else if you need. So
most people have a need for it, right?
Yeah.
They're walking to that store knowing what they're going to spend that cash on. So we're not trying to tie them back into another 2-year agreement.
Or even a purchase immediately with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. That's right.
Retailers are entering a new era, one powered by AI and filled with opportunity. But they shouldn't have to go it alone. Meet Commerce, the new parent brand uniting BigCommerce, Feedonomics, and MakeSwift into one AI-driven ecosystem, connecting all the tools your business needs to adapt faster, scale smarter, and grow with confidence. Commerce's powerful selling solutions help brands turn data into discovery, create storefronts without bottlenecks, and build frictionless shopping experiences that your customers will love. Want to learn more? See how Commerce is powering what's next at commerce.com/retailremix.
Okay, so you already have touched on this multiple times, but I think the one thing I really love the most about your concept is this idea of electronics as a community service almost, because we are all so tied to these devices now. They're so essential to our lives. It actually seems like kind of an obvious angle on the category, and yet it's not really a tack that many other electronic retailers, maybe any, are taking. So I'm curious how you've shared a little bit, but like how are you presenting that ethos in the store? How is that enabled by the franchise franchise model? And how are you then managing like consistency, like making sure that all your stores across your franchisee base are consistently presenting that same kind of community ethos?
It's a great question. We're heavy in training. We're heavy in communication internally. We all again, going back to before, like I said, we bring in quality franchisees. So we know, and Stephen and I have had 500 franchisees come to the table. We don't just sign somebody up if they have business experience and a check. We vet them. We've been to every single meeting with them, every single discovery day with them. So we make sure that those people are representative of the values that we want in our stores. And that funnels down to the people and the staff that are in these stores. So that's the first level of it. That's how we maintain consistency. On the tech side, we're able to monitor at just about 200 different KPIs, making sure that everything is operating the way that it should be in our stores, which translates down to customer satisfaction. We know that there's different groups of people that visit our stores that may not have accessibility to the new iPhone. They can't afford that, or they don't have their current situation doesn't allow them to have that, whether it's for work or school. We're able to get a pre-owned device in their hands that works every single time with a warranty if they're shopping with us, or allow them to trade up towards something to save money on that as well. So that's something like else that we're very passionate about, is giving the accessibility to the masses for these devices. To round it off, we have a poster in the back of every store with our PayMore pillars that has several different pillars on there that is all customer focused, making sure that we're always looking out for the customer's best interest. We're looking for the long-term value of the customer. We're not a pawn shop that's looking for the quick come up on a sale just to kind of slap five and say, hey, that was a great job. We don't offer incentives for our staff on margins. We don't do that. We're here with a set system, making sure that we're giving the fair value every time. We're wiping the data and we're building a long-term relationship.
As you enter new towns and new states, new countries, actually, how are you getting the word out about the chain and what you do?
Well, the funny thing is that, and we've learned this now the few times we've been in, some of these different markets, where now we're exploring actively 14 different countries to go into, is that technology and pre-owned technology is understood almost to the dollar and to the T wherever you go. It's amazing. Unlike food or some of these other things that, it really takes some time and it could hit or not hit, or the taste could not carry over to a certain market, or you have to change your business model or your recipes to get into these other markets. Technology, a used iPhone or an older laptop, earpods, whatever it is, it translates extremely well because everyone has them. Obviously, some markets have a little bit more than others, and really it all trades at the same dollar or very close to it. So technology translates very well, and that's number one. Number two, Eric and I really are focused on the U.S. and initiating different things and really putting stuff together that is going to elevate our entire enterprise. So we're bringing in really top quality masters, and what I mean by that, and that these are partners in us in that other market where they use our platform, but they're the ones that are really providing oversight and opening those stores. So we've had, in our Canadian example, we brought in somebody that had 700 restaurants previously before they sold it to open up 120 stores plus in Canada. We brought in somebody in the UK that had 500 restaurants, and you'll see that theme. We have a lot of restaurateurs or people who have been in the restaurant industry join PayMore just because I guess they see the future and it's a lot easier lift than
food,
fries, flipping burgers. So we're bringing the highest quality partners in. To Eric's point, we want the best people that are going to help us in areas that they've already had a lot of success in. So they're taking our proven platform, the retail of the future, electronics, which is everybody's most expensive commodity, maybe outside of their house or their car. And to your point before, it's a sensitive product, a high price commodity for each and all of us. So you're putting all of that recipe together with people who have had success in those markets before. And that's how we've been so quickly adopted in some of these markets we've entered already.
Eric, I noticed that a while ago, you yourself were a franchisee for Quick Drop. I'm curious now, you're on the flip side of the equation. What have you learned about the advantages and maybe some of the challenges of operating a retail business under a franchise model, having been on both sides of the equation now?
I love that you asked that question because starting off as a franchisee is a must to become a franchisor.
Okay.
You really understand the relationship. You understand what may seem like at sometimes a great relationship and sometimes others maybe not so great relationships. So as the experience I've gained over that time, now becoming a franchisor, I feel as though I'm able to understand the franchisees better because that's where I came from. So when we implement processes as a franchisor, we're not just looking to grow a top line number for them. We're consistently looking to help them grow their bottom line number and to make their operations more efficient. Our job, in my view, is to make sure that they're making as much money as possible. So how can we continue to innovate to help them with staffing, to help them with real estate selection, like Steven said, to give all this value back down to grow together, because franchising is a wealth generating machine for both parties. So to keep that focus balanced, that's really been a big driver and experience for me.
As your pool of franchisees grows, though, do you find it's harder to maintain control, to maintain consistency, or do you have kind of like tactics for that already in place?
Yeah, so as we grew, we've developed our own special software to scale the franchise because there was nothing off the shelf for us, just like our point of sale system. So we built an internal system, a franchise management system to help handle that based off our experiences as we grew. So that helps a lot. We also utilize a lot of AI, and we have different processes that if we do them more than once in the office, we automate it. So we have the luxury, I say, of being tech forward and data driven. So we're able to implement things quickly. So fast forward over the last several years, what we've kind of got bruised up on and then fixed is now accretive over time on the efficiencies. So we rely a lot on tech, but we also rely a lot on our operating system that's constantly running in the background, making sure that things are being done the right way.
I guess it shouldn't be a surprise. An electronics retailer, tech is kind of your secret sauce. That makes sense in a way. All right. So before we wrap things up, I'm hoping we can get to our mixtape rapid fire questions if you guys are up for it. Yeah?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
First question, and this is such a personal question nowadays, so I'm very curious. What kind of phone do both of you have?
Oh, this is a sore subject.
Oh,
yeah.
Uh-oh.
I have, me and Eric have never fought in our 21 years, but this is the one thing he ribs me on from time to time. So I have a Samsung phone.
Oh, and does he have an Apple phone?
Yes. I feel like we all do in the office, so we have to deal with the green text message when Steven says,
you're the one. You're the one making everything green.
Yes. I have an iPhone 13. I don't have the newest phone, which is probably surprising to a lot of people on whoever's listening to this, running an electronics business, but it's old faithful for me.
Yeah. I also don't have the newest. I don't need another one. I think you do get to a point where you're kind of like, this one's good for now, which is kind of in line with that secondhand ethos though, right? Use it until you can't anymore.
Part of that, Nicole, is also that where do you go to get an unlocked device? Like I would have to go back to Verizon and sign up, and I don't want to do that. So we have these devices available for sale that are unlocked for any carrier, and it doesn't come with any caveat, right? You can switch to any carrier you want if you purchase a device from our store, which is shop.paymore.com.
Okay. A tech device besides your phone that you absolutely cannot live without.
For me, it's my AirPods for sure. We travel a lot, and even though Steven mentioned we've never got into an argument, we sit on a plane together usually once a week for several hours. So sometimes we put those AirPods in.
We're learning all the secrets of your relationship. What about you, Steven?
I would have to say it's probably the same.
Yeah. I guess AirPods make a good business relationship.
They surely help.
What is your biggest technology pet peeve?
The slowing of the batteries in the devices over time. I think I speak for the masses there. It's been addressed many times, even publicly, how and why that happens. They come out with a new operating system that puts a drag on the device. It's almost like you're forced into upgrading. Yeah. Battery degradation over time happens, but it seems to be happening faster nowadays. So I'd say that's probably my pet peeve.
I'm going to go kind of inverse to a tech forward company. So my biggest pet peeve is people not picking up the phone and calling people. So I know what the value is of a text and how quick it is and an email, but for some occasions, not everything, but for that 5% of communication, some things get lost in that and in communication. So I like when there's something that needs to be talked through, someone actually picks up the phone and calls you or vice versa.
I think things are swinging back toward old-fashioned methodologies in a way. We'll see. I don't think we're going to get people to stop texting, but I agree with you. A phone call sometimes is just so much more expedient. What is an item that you would never buy used?
I would always look to purchase a pre-owned electronic, just making sure I would be buying it from an authorized PayMore store to make sure that it doesn't have any issue with it and has warranty.
One more plug in there.
You have to, right? So outside of that, I'm not into the used clothing. I think that's something that
I was going to go there.
That
was going to be mine.
Really?
Well. I
You didn't say tech items, so
it doesn't have to be a tech item. I just mean like any item.
I would go clothing as well.
I think socks have to be bought new, I feel like. So
certain clothing items. Underwear, definitely. Yeah, my mind went to like mattresses. I think I would just always want my mattress to be new.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last one is a retailer that no longer exists, but you wish was still around.
Oh, that's a
Good
tough
question.
one.
I think I would go to like a maybe the old nostalgic food places like Round or something like
Sizzler.
that.
Sizzler. We have,
Sizzler doesn't exist anymore? I didn't know that.
Not in our neck of the woods, I don't think.
I don't know.
If I didn't mention this for one of our franchisees, Nick, Nobody Beats the Whiz would probably be one of them. Do you remember that? I think it was Long Island, wasn't it?
That was a Long Island brand.
Oh, but I'm not East Coast born and bred, so maybe I missed the window on the Whiz.
Okay, or Roy Rogers maybe.
I'd go nostalgic food just so I can bring my sons in there and our kids in there to experience what I experienced.
That's right.
And mine is Toys R Us, though. Like, just speaking of kids, like, I don't think anybody has replaced what Toys R Us used to be. Christmas shopping is not the same without Toys R Us in the picture.
Yeah, you have FAO Schwartz, but that's not.
They're
not
little though, and there's not that many of them yet.
Right.
Well, I very much look forward to testing out yours. Sure, you have some in New Jersey. That's where I live. Yeah?
Yeah, we have a location open in Paramus right now. And
All
we
right.
have 11 or so more in development and others looking around for spots. So
fantastic news. You made me very excited to go definitely the next time I need a tech device. But thank you both just for being with us here today, taking us behind the scenes of what you're building. It's really very interesting.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to chat today.
And thanks everyone else for tuning in. As always, we'd love to continue the conversation with all of you on LinkedIn on the Retail Touchpoints page. Be sure to stop by and drop your take on franchising or planned obsolescence or anything else that this conversation may have sparked. And talk to y'all soon. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Retail Remix. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a future episode. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or your favorite podcast app. Until next time, keep mixing it up.